Worms aren't the only big builders in these parts. The people have grand designs too. Navigating these waters by boat can be fraught with dangers. To sail from the west coast to the east coast means braving the storm-battered northern coastline of Scotland, a treacherous stretch of water barring the passage to the North Sea. So what if there were a shortcut for ships, right through the centre of Scotland? Well, here is that shortcut, the Caledonian Canal. Started in 1803, it was one of Britain's biggest, boldest building projects. A mighty waterway running for 62 miles from the Atlantic to the North Sea, through the mountainous heart of the Highlands. And we're embarking on a journey along it. It starts with a tight squeeze, which looks a little too small for today's ocean-going cruise ships, like this one I'm on.
I tell you, this is going to have to be a neat trick. This is a big ship, and it's got to travel all the way across country in a space no wider than that. The Caledonian Canal wasn't built for narrow boats, but for much larger sea-going vessels. Still, ships have grown quite a bit in the last 200 years.
No sooner have we got through obstacle number 1 than we're confronted with 8 lock gates in a row. This is known as Neptune's Staircase. Like everything to do with this waterway, it's on a colossal scale. Neptune's Staircase took 900 men nearly 4 years to construct. Step by step, the 728-ton Lord of the Glens is raised 64 feet into the air to begin its voyage through the middle of Scotland out to the east coast. How was this waterway built? And why was it built? Nick is on the trail of an epic tale.
Travelling along this canal, you start to get a sense of the scale. It was an extraordinary undertaking. The plans were drawn up just over 200 years ago by Thomas Telford. Telford's design for this waterway cleverly combined bold engineering with Scotland's spectacular landscape. Just look at this incredible view. Probably the most stupendous valley in the British Isles, the Great Glen. Right, here's a map of northern Scotland. Glasgow's down here, and here is the Great Glen slashing across Scotland from one side to the other, from the Atlantic here to the North Sea here. In the bed of the Great Glen are 3 freshwater lochs, Loch Lochy, Loch Oig, and the largest of them, Loch Ness. What Telford wanted to do, and here is his master plan, is to link them all up by canals. Here's Loch Lochy, here's Loch Oig, and here's Loch Ness. So what he had to do was to create canals here, 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 and here, 4 of them. If he could do that, he could create a waterway which linked the North Sea with the Atlantic. This shortcut was planned to slash journey times and protect shipping from storms at sea. But there was another, even greater prize at stake. Some 200 years ago, the Highlands were in crisis. For years, landowners had been throwing tenants off their land to make way for sheep farming, a period known as the Highland Clearances. People were leaving in their droves, their abandoned homes swallowed by the heather. There was a village here once. Now it's gone back to nature. So many people were emigrating that the government became anxious that the Highlands would soon be empty. People needed jobs as an incentive to stay. Bright idea. How about getting them digging? The government put dispossessed Highlanders to work, digging the Caledonian Canal. In the days before heavy machinery, carving this monster waterway would keep thousands busy with back-breaking work. the state poured vast sums of money into the enterprise. Here was a job creation scheme on a massive scale. I'm meeting historian Anthony Burton, who knows what was expected of the novice navvies.
Hello.
Hello.
This is a beautiful spot. I've seen some of the canal now. This is like the Panama Canal. This is something that changed British geography.
Absolutely. I mean, this was the civil engineering triumph of the age, and it's all down to this, the spade. This was done by blokes, and it was blokes from the Highlands. You know, the Highland clearances. The Highlands were desperately poor. In one day, 200 Highlanders appeared en masse, having walked all the way from Skye to come and work on this canal.
They were desperate for work.
They were desperate for work, but they had to reach the standard of professional navvy. And the professional navvy, they reckon, could shift 12 cubic yards a day.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Right, okay.
So
Now come on back. Now if you're an experienced navvy, you're going to be digging a trench, roughly waist deep, from here to there.
Every day.
Every single day. You want to have a go? Just see how much hard work's involved?
All right.
Be my guest.
All right.
Carry on.
I suppose this is probably what they did, is it? They just take the turf off
Yeah.
first.
That's right.
So this soft Londoner is getting a bit knackered already.
I'm not surprised. Well, you're getting into the sort of rough stuff now. You're starting getting some stones down there.
One more clod. then
It's
I
going to
can-
get harder and harder as you go down.
One more clod. I'm just trying to imagine, given that I'm soaked in sweat and my back's aching, what it meant to the people who were obliged to dig it by hand. What would you say to, if you met one of them now, if you could kind of flick back through time?
Is this better than starving? Because that was the other option. Or would you rather get on a ship and go to Canada?
I keep digging, I think,
I think I would too.
even though it's absolutely back-breaking. But I've done enough
I'm sure you are.
to know how incredibly tough they must have been to pull it off.
They dug and they dug. For 19 years, along a total of 22 miles, they dug this channel, 15 feet deep. Little by little, the canal breathed life back into the Highland economy. But the navvies couldn't have achieved this gigantic task without some help from nature. A series of freshwater lochs along the length of the Great Glen. Connecting these natural waterways was the key to completing the Caledonian Canal. On their route was the mightiest loch of them all, Scotland's most famous, Loch Ness. Deep enough to hold the fresh water from every lake in England and Wales put together. So enormous, it's said, that every human on planet Earth could fit beneath its surface. 3 times over. Adrian Shine originally came to these waters to hunt the Loch Ness monster. What he did find was a fascinating insight into the boats that once used this waterway as part of the Caledonian Canal's coast-to-coast shortcut.
Exciting.
It is, isn't it? Does it matter which way into the water it goes?
No, just
Go around at paces?
just pop it in.
This is the remote camera technology Adrian used to explore the deep.
Now lower away, lower away. Watching the screen. That's it, 1, 2, 3.
Skimming across the floor of the loch with his underwater camera in 2002, Adrian stumbled across something that for me is an intriguing clue to the fate of the Caledonian Canal.
You know, suddenly this wall of wood came up in front of us. There was the name, Pansy, and the Banff registration number. Fascinating, because often with wrecks you have trouble identifying them. Well, we didn't have any trouble with this.
The registration tells us the Pansy wasn't a grand trading ship, She was a sail-powered fishing boat, much like this one. The Pansy foundered in Loch Ness while using the Caledonian Canal to reach new fishing grounds. Fishing boats found the canal useful, but finding the wreck of a large merchant ship in Loch Ness is about as likely as spotting the monster. Within a few years of the Caledonian Canal's completion, in 1822, many merchant vessels had grown too big to use this coast-to-coast shortcut. It never became the mighty trade route that was planned. If that wasn't bad enough, the project had gone 3 times over budget. Many thought it was a white elephant, a colossal waste of public money. But approaching the end of the canal here at Inverness, I can't help feeling that its success shouldn't be measured in pounds and pence. Yes! This is the very last lock on the Caledonian Canal. So that's salt water, it's the Murray Firth. And out there is the North Sea. You know, this isn't just a great waterway, it's a great survivor. Over the years, many people have come up with many reasons to close it down. But here's one to keep it open. It's an awesome achievement.